A new Star Wars writing star emerges, a mystery snack in the words of a wise Jedi. It was another fun week in Star Wars, but who or what is at the top of the Star Wars world? Hello, you scoundrels. I'm Napzok, known ragamuffin, and it's time for your weekly Star Wars Power Rankings. This is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars pop culture and the ultimate adventure, life itself, featuring the insights of Joseph Scrimshaw, Jen Landa, and myself. Subscribe now to join our celebration of the greatest saga ever told. To the rankings we go. Number 3. Mayang Joe Wesner. Writers still have it tough in Hollywood. You can't make a movie or show without a script. Strikes expose that weakness pretty fast. And though studio heads have technical wet dreams about AI cutting writers out of the creative process, those robots are still a long way away from understanding nuance, sarcasm, or when to use an Oxford comma and brag about it in your college dorm rooms. The story starts on the page, and this week, rookie Star Wars writer Mayang Joe Wesner gave us some wonderful pages of story, themes, crisp dialogue, zippy humor with a lot of character-defining depth, and one great lightsaber gag. Episode 5 of The Skeleton Crew did not waste a moment, and it was well-directed, acted, edited, shot, and conceived, to be sure. But Mayang Joe Wesner deserves her name in lights. So say we all. Yeah, I did a crossover reference. Deal with it. Raised in Missouri but based in New York, Wesner has been building her impressive resume since 2018, but 2024 has been her career-establishing year. She wrote and produced on ABC's new show High Potential, starring Sweet D herself, Caitlin Olsen, and now she has wowed Star Wars audiences with a universally praised Skeleton Crew episode. And you know what happens when you wow Star Wars audiences. Every drink in the hotel lobby bar at the next Star Wars celebration will be yours free. No questions asked. Yeah, writers have always been on the bottom rung of the respect ladder in Hollywood, but Mayang Joe Wesner climbed up a few rungs this week. Though, as if to prove my own point, she's coming in at number 3 on this list, while possible poop joke is number 2. But at least she is credited as writing that joke. Number 2, The Troglo Mystery. The 5th episode of The Skeleton Crew was a very deep entry into the series. It was full to the brim with action, adventure, and comedy, but there was a lot going on below the surface. In fact, that was the main thematic drive of the episode. What's the truth buried beneath the surface in all of us? A luxury treat built on a pirate's lair was just the first step into a deeper episode. But in the middle of the episode, around the 21-minute mark, came one of the episode's most memorable moments, and perhaps its most discussed and debated one this week, which is quite the feat for this rich episode. We're, of course, talking about the Troglo spa attendant who seemingly took a one-way trip into and possibly out of a hut again. First, before we enter the great poop shoot debate, it was just fun seeing a Troglo again. We first saw one in The Last Jedi, that of course being Tham, who was working hard in the casino at Canto Bight, though he was named in Jonathan Jackson Miller's short story The Ride, found in the Canto Bight novel. I love it when something once considered new becomes normal in Star Wars. We celebrate this a lot when looking back at something from the prequels showing up again in another Star Wars story. The victory in this is that often what was new was not universally met with acceptance. In fact, sometimes it faces undeserved scorn, often just because it was simply new. Like, look, not every new Springsteen song is a classic until it is one. And I love that we went back to the Canto Bight Casino, a Star Wars location bustling with mesmerizing amounts of new creatures and characters to pull forward the sentient quadrupeds from Troglofa. Theirs seemed to be a life of hospitality and service industry jobs, but they do it well, and they do it with pride. Even when that means bringing some snacks out to a vile hut lounging in a mud bath who considers you to be the snack of choice. It was great comedy, maybe even a little tragic, but the over-the-top beat was built on the quiet, subtle dialogue underneath it. This Troglo can only protest with a meek and frustrated tone as he lets us know that this was not the first time for this horrific event. Does this happen every time with the same server? Is this just a long line in a series of ill-fated Trogloffs? What's the human resources take on the situation? Is there hazard pay? Did the HUTT spit him out of his mouth like an Oscar host trying not to mention a nominee's spouse? Is the Trogloff dead? Or worse, did he leave the HUTT's body, protected by his own outer shell, undigested and evacuated, only to have to relive this horror all over again? We don't know the answer. Yet. Perhaps the Trogloff will return in The Mandalorian and Grogu. Get on it, scoopers. Hide in a parking lot and find out something that matters for once. Until then, Star Wars fans will be left with nothing but their headcanon and speculation, which makes the mystery of the Trogloff's fate one of the more talked about things this week in Star Wars. And yes, I think he was pooped out. Number 1, your focus determines your reality, and the words of Qui-GON Jinn. And I do mean the concept, the advice, the philosophy, the thematic lesson, and yes, the Qui-GON Jinn of it all. Jude Law's Jod Nanatwood, a.k.a. Dash Zenton, a.k.a. Captain Silvo, a.k.a. a great running joke that says a lot about the character's journey, was at the center of this week's episode. Though in the end he did what we all feared and believed he was going to do, turn on these kids like the pirate he is, the journey to that point was richly rewarding. Jude Law has proven to be every bit of the talented Mr. Ripley that the 1990s claimed he was. His choices as an actor create a compelling and complicated character arc, and he certainly represents the adults that we are, needing to reconnect with the magic we once believed in as children. But it has become so much more than that. He's been lying, using, and misleading these kids from the first moment he met them. But along the way, he has cared for them, even if it's against his will. Something he doesn't want to do, like sharing his space oatmeal with them. But he did, and he does, care for them. This week, it was finding an upset and confused Wim crying by himself because this adventure of growing up that all these kids are on is hard. Really, really hard, man. Jod would like to turn away. He's almost disgusted that he found Wim like this. But he turns around, sits with Wim, and shares some truths about who he is, and more importantly, was. His past is still a mystery, and it's been fun to speculate week to week on what that past is. But this Force user went from tossing out Jedi talking points like they were candy to distract the children with him to dropping one of the more celebrated Jedi philosophies first given to us by Qui-GON Jinn. That's huge. And the theories that this creates or spurns on are very much part of the fun of watching this show. Was he a Jedi, a Padawan? Did he survive Order 66? Will he go on to join Luke's Jedi school and then die when Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren go bonkers? Did he know Grogu? Those questions and more are all part of the standard surviving Jedi speculation playbook. But there is more going on. He's dropping truth here, and he's right. Your focus determines your reality. That's good advice. Wim needs to hear it. He's a kid with a good heart stuck in a way of life that doesn't allow for the imagination he has. And he can break through all of that by choosing to use his imagination to guide him through life and on to great things. Jod is right for Wim, but for himself, he is wrong, and apparently has been wrong for a very long time. That Qui-GON Jinn line isn't just a clue to his past, it's a clue to who he is. His focus has been on the wrong things. And perhaps something terrible started that journey. Maybe he did survive Order 66 and then started a life in the underbelly of the Star Wars galaxy. But what we did learn here is that Jod has been taking the wrong lessons from the advice he himself once received. We learned this when he speaks about attachments and what they mean to him, or rather what it means to him to not have attachments. This, of course, is a core tenet of the Jedi Order and what it means to be a Jedi. But like Anakin Skywalker before, or quite frankly, some corners of the fandom, and maybe the Jedi Order itself, he's misinterpreting the lesson. Attachments aren't bad. Jedi can form bonds, care, even love. Hell, you can't tell me that Obi-Wan Kenobi didn't love his pal Dexter. But the attachments aren't the problems. The fear of letting go is. The fear of the potential loss of losing those you hold dear is the problem. But that doesn't mean it's a good idea to go on this adventure called life completely alone, devoid of connections and responsibilities to other people. No, attachments isn't the freedom Jod believes it to be. It's an emotional prison. His own focus has put him here. It's a choice he made. But just like he's telling Wim, he could one day make a better choice for himself. And I, for one, hope that Jod, or whatever his name may turn out to be, can make a better choice. And I'm hoping the kids he just turned on could be the ones to make him change his focus. Mayang Joe Wesner, the Troglo mystery, and your focus determines reality. Number 3, 2, and 1 in this week's Star Wars Power Rankings. I'm Napzok. See you next time here on ForceCenter.